Hey, Godzillavangelists fans. Also just wanted to give a little heads up to everybody that we are looking to do a live Godzillavangelist show. Very exciting.
Hell yeah.
Coming up in November in Los Angeles. So if you live in the LA area, keep an eye and an ear out. We will keep you posted on everything as it gets finalized. But we're super excited about it.
Yes, I'm super thrilled. We've teased this before, but we're locking some things in. We're not going to announce the location just yet because we want to be 100,000% certain it's good. But it will be November 4th. Most likely in East LA, if we can tease that.
Yes,
or
definitely.
The eastern side of LA, not East LA, for those of you who have a negative connotation to that. Don't worry, it's going to be in a good neighborhood. And we're going to not only have in-person tickets, but we're going to let you get virtual tickets if you can't make it, but you still want to watch it. Lots of fun stuff, but just wanted to remind you that that's a thing we're working on, and we will have more details for you very soon.
Yeah, so if you're in the area and you want to check it out, we would love to see you there. So just pencil that in on your cals and we'll keep you posted on more details soon. Yay!
Yes, Godzillavangelists Live. It's gonna be real.
Godzillavangelists Live! I'm still working on the song for it, but we'll nail it by the time November comes around. Exactly. It's a live musical show. Yay! Put those voice lessons to work. Yeah, thanks everyone. We'll see you there.
Yes, see you there. There is a legend of one man who persuaded his friends to watch every Godzilla movie ever made. This world is on the brink of destruction. We need you now, Godzillavangelists. Godzillavangelists, a Geek Stew Network podcast. Produced and hosted by Ryan Sargent. Featuring Sam Schlenker and Joanna Brodecki. Hello and welcome to Godzillavangelists. I'm Ryan, and the one and only Joanna Brodecki is here with me.
Whoop whoop.
Sam is away again, unfortunately, but
Aww.
We do have a fabulous new guest to introduce to you all. A real-life TV and film producer, cat and dog lover, hiking aficionado, and my pal Nicole Jordan-Webber is here.
Woo. And a cat lover.
What an awesome intro.
Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. What a fun thing to do on a Tuesday night.
What a silly activity that we have been partaking in for 5 years of our lives.
It's just the best, and I mean that. I don't know how much you do.
No, I mean it. It's the most consistent thing in my life for sure. Of all relationships, places I've lived, it's holding strong.
That's something.
Yeah, that's something.
That's something.
So, on a related topic to our movies today, here's my quote-unquote cold open. What is your guys' favorite mysterious myth or legendary legend?
Oh my god. Can mine be a spooky story?
Yeah.
I can't think of a myth. There's a cemetery in Chicago called Resurrection Cemetery. There is a myth, a rumor, a spooky ghost story that a woman who was dancing at this big ballroom in the 1920s and decided to walk home in the rain past Resurrection Cemetery passed away in a car accident, and there's a rumor that she haunts that cemetery now. And I don't know how I got here, but I think it's my favorite because about every 3 years, whenever my mother visits Chicago, she goes, I saw Resurrection Mary again. And it's my favorite trait about her. And most people in Chicago know it. They're like, Resurrection Mary. I'm like, yeah, my mom's seen her like about 18. She did drive her home, in fact. That's like the story. They drive her home and then she's not in the car when they get there. And,
yeah. Oh, one of those stories.
Yeah, a bunch of young boys pick her up. They're like, we'll take this nice lady home. And then they're like, where'd she go? Oh my God. That's a favorite old lore of mine.
Love that.
What about you, Nicole?
I guess just because of the cat intro, my mind went immediately to, I love black cats. And I love, I love, Hocus Pocus 1, 2, and now 3 is one of my favorite franchises of all times. And I mean that sincerely. It sounds like I'm kidding, but I swear to God, it's easily one of the best franchises of all times. And I would do anything to continue that legacy. Anyway, I have a black cat, and her name is Kitty, not because I named her Kitty, but because the woman who died and gave her to me named her Kitty, and so now she's still Kitty. But I just, for some reason, I think because of the witches and the black cat and the hocus pocus of it all, it's like every time I see a black cat, I get so excited and I want to adopt every black cat I see. So I think I'm just hooked on it.
Yeah. Ryan, it sounds like we need to do like scary movies.
So you have a reverse aversion to black cats. You're bending the myth in on itself.
I love spooky things. I love Halloween. It's my favorite holiday. I love like scary movies. I love all of that. And I do every haunted house I possibly can. I do every single like Halloween attraction in Los Angeles every single year, to the extent that like my friends want to stop hanging out with me because I make them spend so much money on all these amusement parks to go get scared in rooms. So yeah, I think that's why it has the reverse effect on me. I'm just like, I fucking love that shit. Every new city I go to, I have to do a midnight tour. It's like...
Okay, see, next time you're in Chicago, I'm going to give you the address, Resurrection Cemetery. You can drive by in the rain at midnight.
I can't
You'll
wait.
see Resurrection Mary.
I can't wait.
I would love to see you do like a yearly ranking. I would pay you to do one of those, because I'm always like, which one's the most worth it?
Right.
Like, what am I going to wait in line for?
I'll tell you right now. Every time. It's Not Scary Farm. Not Scary Farm is the best one. Best money spent.
I've heard that. It has like an underground reputation.
Oh, it's amazing.
Like doing a lot with a little.
It's a lot with a little, and they, like, the actors there are phenomenal. The production design of every haunted house is amazing. I mean, it's like, it's worth the drive. It's the best one every year. For the last, like, 10 years I've been doing this.
Oh my God. I want to go.
And I would tell you my favorite myth, but that was the perfect segue to our topic today. Doing a lot with a little.
Well, we'll have to have an appendix to this episode, and at the very end, you can share it.
Yeah,
all right,
the audience needs to know.
If you want to find out, you gotta listen all the way to the end.
Listen all the way to the end and leave a review. You gotta do it if you want to hear it.
Yep. Today's episode is a little tribute to our beloved master of monsters, Ray Harryhausen, producer, animator, influential guy, near and dear to my heart. So we're covering Jason and the Argonauts and the Golden Voyage of Sinbad. Like many of our guests lately, Nicole is a very busy person, so she's going to dip out for Jason and the Argonauts, but we're sailing all the way with Sinbad.
Sailing with Sinbad, sick. I'm going to get that as a tattoo.
What a dream. What a dream that would be.
Yeah. So, do you guys know anything about Ray Harryhausen? Before I dig into my little history here.
I had no clue why we were watching this movies, and every time we start and it's not a Godzilla film, I go, what are we doing here? I go, okay, fun.
It's just a little diversion off our highway of Godzilla. Yeah. So, Ray Harryhausen, born in 1920, saw the original King Kong upon its initial release in Los Angeles. And he found himself so inspired, he would like make his own stop motion sets and models and bought all kinds of cameras. And he ended up befriending the head stop motion animator for King Kong, Willis O'Brien.
How did he do that? Did he stalk him? Be honest.
It was the 40s, right? And it's not like you're talking about fucking Humphrey Bogart. You probably just could find him in the phone book.
Just followed behind him for a really long time until he turned around and introduced himself. The old-fashioned way.
The old-fashioned way.
Phone book. I love it.
On Sepulveda. Anyway, they hit it off, and they ended up working together on several projects, including the original Mighty Joe Young, which was sort of Ray's graduation, he actually did most of the animation for Mighty Joe Young. And using that experience, he started searching for his own projects, and that started out with The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, which is one of the movies that inspired Godzilla. There's our direct connection.
What?
And it's based on a story by Ray's close friend, Ray Bradbury. So there's a little unexpected thing for you literature nerds out there.
A lot of Rays in Hollywood at that time, too. Yeah. Were they both named Ray? Yeah.
They were both named Ray.
That's so many Rays in one place. Can't handle
the
that.
Ray boys. Over the course of the 1950s, Ray formed a friendship with Columbia Studios producer Charles Schneer, which allowed him greater and greater creative control over projects until he was basically a shadow director. So he would do, like, key drawings, like, oh, this would be interesting as a scene, and then he would give all these drawings to a screenwriter, and, like, what can you do with this? And so he would be the genesis of the movie, which is really unique that the effects artist is, like, the one driving it, getting it going.
But he wouldn't write the scripts on his own? None of them?
No, he wasn't a writer, so he would do, like, concepts and stuff. But yeah, never actually wrote any of the scripts. And while he initially did science fiction films, his big breakthrough into the public consciousness was 1958's The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, which has been inducted into the National Film Registry and cemented his association with mythical fantasy stories, which ended up being most of his big successes going forward. And he worked all the way from, I guess, 47 to 81. His last movie was Clash of the Titans, which is not great, but awesome at the same time. And it was his most financially successful movie. But after that, he found himself unable to launch another film, and he saw the writing on the wall regarding changes in the film and special effects world. Like, even by 81, stop motion was starting to fall out of fashion as a special effect. So he retired, but a bunch of people claim him as an inspiration, including George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, Peter Jackson, Nick Park, James Cameron, Wes Anderson, Tim Burton, a lot more. So he's a cool guy. I got to meet him.
When?
We went to London where he lived, and he had just gotten an exhibition at the British Film Institute. It was great. I thanked my dad for this. So we, like, went through the museum, and then we saw, like, where he was. It was a private party. So technically we weren't supposed to go in. But my dad walked around the halls until he found, like, a door nobody was watching. And he was like, come on, let's just go.
Oh my God, you snuck into a party.
Badass.
Yeah, so we got to go in. I was 16
Whoa.
or 17.
Wow. Starting early.
Yeah, and very, very sweet guy. As I didn't directly mention, but now will, these movies have giant monsters in them. Mm-hmm. So that's our excuse to talk about them today. Right. So, with no further delay, let's go to the synopsis for Jason and the Argonauts.
Hell yeah. Okay, now that I'm, alone, I feel no pressure, so I'll be able to really commit.
All right. Yes, dive in.
Now that it's just you and me on the mic, there's no
no judgment.
No judgment.
All right. Pelias usurps the kingdom of Thessaly from its king, Aristo. It's a good usurping noise.
Thank you. That usurping, that's a great word.
It is. One of Aristo's daughters prays to Hera for protection just before Pelias kills her.
Please, Hera. Take this baby.
And the goddess takes pity on Aristo's remaining children, including the heroic Jason.
A way less exciting name than the rest of them.
I think that's just because that's like one of the few common Greek names that's still around.
It's like Jason. Yeah, like we were writing a kooky, like a goofy character in our play, and we're like, let's name him Jason. Like, you know, it's different. It's different than Bryce's.
20 years later, Jason saves Pelias from drowning without realizing who he is.
Ah, my horse!
But Pelias recognizes Jason due to a prophecy he received. Pelias encourages Jason to seek the Golden Fleece at the end of the world, hoping he will die along the way. And not to get off on a tangent, but all of what I just said almost doesn't matter for the rest of the movie.
They certainly never come back to Pelias. They certainly never bring him back.
Jason recruits a strong crew for the journey, including the mighty Hercules.
I will find my way. I can go the distance.
If only he was singing those songs. Brilliant Hylas, shipwright Argus, and Pelias' son, Acastus. They set sail on the Argo, but begin to run low on supplies after weeks on the ocean.
Again, my same question. How were they staying alive on those boats in those days? How did they do it? No wonder they were thirsty. Okay.
Yeah. Hera directs Jason to the Isle of Bronze, where they can take food and water, but nothing else. Unfortunately, Hercules gets greedy and steals a giant pin from a vault, awakening the monstrous statue Talos.
Oh, yeah.
It's creaking.
He sounded like this old truck that used to come outside my apartment at 2 a.m. and like collect glass and crunch it. It was like... That's so bad. Don't live on my street in Crown Heights. Awful. 2 a.m.
That's great. Hera advises Jason on how to defeat Talos, but the creature first wrecks the Argo and crushes Hylas. Feeling guilty, Hercules leaves the crew, and Hera directs the Argo to... I mistyped this. I must have been tired. I wrote Hylas again. Directs the Argo to somewhere.
This is great, Ryan. There are a lot. They got to go through some passageway.
Some way. On this island, the Argonauts save the prophet Phineas from tormenting harpies. And in exchange, he gives them guidance to Colchis, home of the feast.
Where were they getting that feast? Again, a question for another time, maybe, but...
I don't know. Maybe it was just like Zeus was putting it there just to torture him.
Looked amazing.
It did look good. They pass through the treacherous clashing rocks and rescue survivors from a wrecked boat on the other side. One of them is the priestess Medea.
Medea, my makeup's perfect, but I just drowned, but my makeup is flawless.
See, the Greeks, they were brilliant. They had waterproof makeup.
They really knew. Maybelline would be proud.
As the Argo nears Colchis, Acastus attempts to challenge Jason for leadership and is defeated, but escapes overboard.
Pew!
Medea paves the way for Jason and his crew's acceptance in Colchis, where they attend a feast. However, that was the second of 2 extended Dancing Girls numbers.
Yes, big back then.
However, Acastus arrived first and convinced King Aedes to imprison the Argonauts to prevent them from stealing the Golden Fleece.
No.
Medea helps them escape and leads Jason to the fleece. They find Acastus being killed by the fierce Hydra guarding the treasure. Jason manages to slay the Hydra and steal the Golden Fleece while Argus prepares the ship.
Haha!
During his escape, though, Jason and a few Argonauts are caught by King Aedes, who sews the Hydra's teeth to grow a battalion of skeleton warriors.
Give me those teeth! Rip them out!
Jason and his men battle the skeletons until they can escape into the ocean with Medea, sailing off in the Argo under the prideful smile of Hera.
Yay!
Yay!
Dun 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 dun. That's my only song for anything. Oh, Jason, Jason, Jason.
Oh, Jason.
So much going on in this movie.
This is Harryhausen's most beloved movie. At the time,
I get it.
It didn't quite make its money back, but it grew to have a cult following over time. This is an iconic movie, but certainly from a gentler, slower era of filmmaking, for sure. As I mentioned, that's my biggest shrug of this whole movie is how the opening sequences don't connect back to anything, and so it feels like almost like they ran out of time. It's like, Pelias, don't worry, that'll work out.
They don't even reference that they're gonna have to bat. They just kind of are like, hurrah! And I feel like too, they're just coming off of old Hollywood of these characters who are just these attractive stars, but they don't really have much depth going on to them. If any at all. I mean, they have none. Just zero. Certainly less fun than Sinbad.
Yeah, it's much more sterile. But, Jason, he's got a handsome face, a beautiful Hollywood smile.
Jason is very attractive, a very nice looking man. He seems like he seems like an honest fella. I'm like, I'd probably, anyone would follow him. He seems a nice enough dude to follow.
And, he's not afraid to ask the advice of women. Keeps going to the hair well, maybe too much.
Right. Yeah, he really is
I don't know what to do. Every time I see this, I'm surprised that he uses all his questions before the last third of the movie.
Pretty immediately. I think too, it's only a bummer because Pelias seemed like a kind of fun villain to have in it,
Yeah.
But he seemed like he was really having that grudge that we thought was going to become something. I felt like everyone besides Jason was more interesting than him, though. So at least that was good.
Yeah. The guy who played Argus, I thought was actually the best actor in this movie. I feel like he was ahead of the curve a little bit.
Wait, which one was Argus?
The older guy who built the ship, the boat, right?
Loved that guy. Yeah, he was great. I think, too, it was very funny to, go to the gods and for Zeus to be this, formal British man who's listen to me. Here's how it will go. I'm like, how the fuck do these gods have all this time? Clearly, is this how it really, the interpretation of how it was working out? They're just playing chess, and that's it. And also, too, Zeus and her, the power structure, the misogyny he was throwing. I was like, wow, God, Zeus is a dick. He kind of...
Yeah, he's like, you may help him 5 times only.
Yeah. No, I think he says at one point something like, this is a man's game, or so, but I'm like, aren't they all gods? It's very confusing. It doesn't make too much sense. I think, what was her name? Hera?
Yeah.
She was nice. She had some...
You got some great Hera ASMR when she would be the figurehead and she would whisper.
She was best as the blinking mermaid. Yeah. That was a great thing. And then I think one of my other favorites was I liked the crew a lot. Hercules. I thought actually one of the best moments was when they were trying to compete to get on the boat, and Hercules and who's the one? Hylas,
yeah.
Have that competition, and then Hylas wins, and Hercules looks at him in shock and then goes, ha ha, and picks him up and carries him away. And I like this
that is a great bit.
I've only really ever seen Hercules envisioned in the animated film version where he's kind of a teen. So I appreciated this older Hercules. He reminded me a lot of a manager I had when I worked at Open Sesame. This Greek dude who would always just drink a lot, and we'd stay up debating, God. So I was like, I love this guy.
Yeah, he's very charming, and myth nerds love to laud him for being the most accurate screen Hercules, because up to this point it was typically big bodybuilders in their 20s all oiled up, and then today we think of the Disney Hercules, who was like a young handsome guy, but
was he more accurately like in the 40s?
In the myths he was like a grizzled, kind of hard drinking
I kind of liked this
guy who
version.
was older by the time he went on his adventure,
like a little tired and sunburnt and a little sad after Hylas dies. I liked that version of him.
Yeah, they have a very pure relationship, the two of them. I'm like, why didn't you listen to Hylas, Hercules? He knew what was up.
He knew all along. But they never listened. The captains of the ship aren't going to listen.
No.
And then, who is the son of Pelias?
Acastus.
I think, I got to be honest, just in your synopsis, I went, Acastus was the son of Pelias. Right. Because I was all a fan of him. I was like, this guy's great. I love him. And then when that very quick came on, like, you're trying to turn this around and support us. And now we must, like, it came on so fast for me because I forgot that he was Pelias' son as I was viewing it.
It is very blink and you'll miss it. Like, if Pelias, like, after Jason talks to Pelias and Jason walks off, Acastus is like, you can't seriously mean to help him, father.
Right.
And he's like, no, but you're going to go with him. So if you literally look away for 30 seconds, you'll miss that whole plot point. And then Acastus, really seems to take his time sabotaging. Like, I don't remember him doing anything to sabotage at all.
He didn't.
Until
he was along for the ride, which was kind of a smart move, just to, do the whole ride and get there.
Yeah, like he kind of sows some doubt about Jason right after Hercules leaves.
Yeah.
But that's about it up until the moment where he's like, I'm tired of taking orders from you. And did he really expect people to get on board with that?
No.
Just saying that out of nowhere.
I need to give a shout out to the wigs and the eyebrows in this movie. Because
working overtime.
They had some real... Who was the king at the end?
King Aedes.
Aedes?
I only know all these because I wrote them down.
I know, this is great. So that king at the end, whatever wig he was wearing, I don't know, it looked like he had a cap on, but it was hair.
And he had these beautiful curls
yes.
in his beard.
Yeah. And I think he was one of my favorites too. He was very committed to being like, I'm going to be this character of this king.
He was hamming it up big time, but in a very appropriate way.
Right.
Not like he doesn't know what he was doing.
Yeah, I feel like if we're comparing the two films, again, the characters in Sinbad were way more fun, but there were a few people who had their shining moments. But I feel like the real draw of this film is the cool storytelling that's done beyond the characters.
Yeah, they're even more in the background than the Sinbad ones are.
And I guess, one other, Medea, truly comes out of the water, perfect eyeliner, and is like, wow, this, and then one day later is like, because I love you. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? What is going on? Have these people never met any other human? And is it like COVID? They got to jump on something as quick as they could find it. That was a lot. Yeah. And then I appreciated that at least she had a little bit of agency because she was the priestess and she did have some power. Whereas, who's the chick in the other movie?
Mariana.
She doesn't really do much, right? I can't remember.
No, she
does much less.
Holds her hand up with the...
Oh, yeah, she's wearing those sexy outfits. Oh, yeah, she has that terrible eye tattoo. Thank you for the reminder. I forgot that pivotal plot point. Yeah, she plays a huge role. I forgot. Massive.
I guess another thought I had on Aedes is that, from a modern perspective, he's totally right. That the Argonauts are just, plunderers.
100%.
What right do they have to take the Golden Fleece from his country?
They absolutely have none. Yeah, they are in the wrong.
It's very colonial.
Yes.
These are our heroes. We just go along with it because we like Jason.
Yeah, well, Jason sucks, I guess. Basis on that one.
As previous guest Jess Morse jokingly said, finders keepers, losers weepers is the law of these movies.
Exactly. And also, you wouldn't have a fun adventure if you didn't have someone trying to steal something. You wouldn't have
That's true, but you could have Colchis be an uninhabited island.
No, because then who would collect the teeth and throw them on the ground?
Okay, all right.
You need those teeth to be on the ground.
You do.
Yeah. So so character's fine, but the rest of the journey I thought very effective.
Yes. Tell me more about it.
Well, first of all, the second that Hylas spooked Pelias off his horse, I was like, well, this is great. This is a great start to this story that we're saying. Didn't she literally just go, like, boo? And he was like, ah! And then he was in the water.
Yeah, Hera was like, ah.
Oh, Hera.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, who's Hy? Okay, I'm getting... This is gonna...
Hylas is the smart guy. Hercules is little buddy.
I recommend everyone...
All these myth names.
I recommend everyone have IMDb up while listening to this episode. Maybe I should pull it up myself. I only remember Bryce's, and she died so quick. Also, actually, that was it was a pretty brutal start. Like, her getting stabbed in the back, Bryce's, was... It seemed like it was going to be a darker film than it kind of ended up being.
Yeah, definitely. It's a pretty sad opener, and then it's like, da-da-da, it's the early 60s, nothing bad can happen, like, Kennedy's not dead yet.
I think just from there, though, about Sinbad, it started to feel a little repetitive to me, because it was like, oh, there's the bad guy, and oh, we're gonna trick him, and I'm gonna use my magic, and it just started to feel a little tiny bit repetitive to me. But I thought that the execution of each one of the, like, quote, monsters or giants or whoever actually had me, like, edging forward a little, and, like, a little, tense, anxiety, whatever it was. Like, the first one was on the island, right? Who was that monster? The big one?
Talos is the big bronze giant.
Talos. So I feel like he moved so slowly, and at first you're like, oh, whatever. But then when he crossed back around to block their boat, like, it was actually a kind of spooky moment and effective.
Yeah. It is very creepy, especially when he first comes to life, and his head turns first.
Super creepy.
And you hear the metal creaking.
Yeah. Like, the slowness of it, something about it really worked and did have me a little like, are they gonna, And then when he was on the beach with them, I didn't quite understand what was pouring out of him when he undid that little latch. But I was like, well, we could let this one go, I guess.
As a kid, I thought it was boiling oil, but having read Harryhausen's notes, it's supposed to be ichor, which is the blood of the gods. Which is why it's glowing a little bit.
Oh. See,
its power.
My lack of knowledge led me to not be able to pick up on that. I just thought, are they doing kind of blood? I also thought, is it oil? What is it? Yeah, but I thought him, and then I thought when, the Little Mermaid Ariel's dad showed up.
Literally, King Triton.
When King Triton popped up. I think in that moment, too, convenient for them that another ship in the middle of the ocean just happened to be passing through that channel at the time so they could see it get destroyed before they really went for it. But I think that moment of, Jason being like, no, we're going to go for it. We're going to go for it. And his crew is so committed that they are just going to, and the guy who, the old man who designed the boat, they're just going to do it. And then it was kind of cool to see this big mermaid dad pop out of the sea.
Yeah. My one funny story I know from that is when he first saw the actor in the costume, Harryhausen was like, he looks a little ordinary. What should I do? And he said, stick your lower lip out so you look like a royal Habsburg.
Oh my God.
So that's why he has that, like, pouty lip.
I was wondering. It was an interesting choice. Was it the Hercules actor? No, I'm kidding. It kind of looked the same. Just throw him in this mermaid outfit. But I even think all of that, like the crashing down, like that actor was doing a good job of making me believe he was kind of struggling to hold these cliffs apart. I was like, this little boat better move. They better row, row, row fast. This king is tired. I don't know, but and then obviously the end one. I would love to hear your thoughts on the kind of earlier ones before we get to the big one of the,
Yeah, I like the Talos, and I see what you're saying overall. Even though I like Sinbad a bit better, I see what you're saying, because all of the battles are kind of like a straight-up fight, whereas in this it's more varied. So with Talos, they're not really fighting him, they're running until Jason can, like, do the one thing he needs to defeat him. And with the Harpies, they're not trying to, like, fight them, they just need to catch them in a net. They're not, like, a real threat. So I see what you're saying, where there's, like, more diversity to the little mini adventures. Mm-hmm. And I do like the Talos sequence. That's my second favorite after the Hydra, which we'll come to in a minute. And yeah, there's, like I said, I love his head slowly turning when he first wakes up, and then when he straddles the bay, like the Colossus of Rhodes, and picks up the boat. That is a very intimidating moment. You're like, you guys better hurry up.
Just shakes him on out. He doesn't crush it, he just shakes him on out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me it just was a tiny bit more engaging throughout, because each thing was a little more different. Even though the characters were a little more boring, I thought that the obstacles they were encountering. And I think too, I can't tell which. I love that there were two mermaids on two boats that moved and actually became a part of it. I think that should be used. Like, has Pirates of the Caribbean done that? Why have they not?
It's a good move. It's a lot of fun.
It's a really good move. And I can't tell, like, the one in Sinbad is definitely very scary. But the creepy blinking talking one also just has to have its own. Him just...
You know what's great is originally the mouth moved too, but Harryhausen was like, it looks kind of like a funny ventriloquist dummy. Maybe we better just seal that in place.
Yeah, just stick with the eyes.
A smart move, because it's already kind of creepy and goofy.
Yeah, it had some throwback to, like, going to, like, I don't know if anyone ever went to White Fence Farm growing up in Chicago, but they had all these old, like, funhouse mirrors and, like, old-timey things, and it just had totally that vibe, which I like the nostalgia of it. Maybe that was my favorite one. And I like how, like...
Next time I go back, if that place is still there, I gotta go.
Yeah, it's way fun. It's way fun. It's like the true, you go there and you're like, this definitely was the fun place to be, like, pre-television and Netflix and all of that stuff. It was like a big, hit family restaurant. I think, too, just like the shipbuilders' enthusiasm about it at the beginning of being like, I don't know why, but I, like, built it this way, and I think it's great. Everything just meant to be.
Yes, those little, like, influences of the gods.
Yes.
Moving people without them knowing.
I guess it is a little easy of a trick that he gets to, like, just ask her for help, but I kind of didn't mind, because, like, he really wouldn't have made it that far without her, Like, again, he's hot, but, like, I don't know, his brain, he's not as witty as Sinbad, so, it's probably for the best.
Yeah, I do like that Sinbad's more clever and comes up with the ideas, but at least with Hera, she never, like, does any, like, crazy Deus Ex Machina thing for him. She always tells him something instead of, like, just doing it.
And sometimes it isn't a riddle, which, we love to see from a god.
Yes.
We love a kind of cloaked riddle.
Speaking of which, I love when Jason is talking to Hermes, but he doesn't know it's Hermes yet, and so he's like, the messenger of the god, Hermes. And Hermes says, yes? Oh.
Right.
It's like a little comedy beat.
There were a few comedy beats throughout. I loved that. Yes? That's what I wrote. I forgot about that moment. Wait, then when Hermes just blasted off into the sky?
Just became gigantic. That was not such a good effect. But
have you seen the recent Guardians of the Galaxy?
Not yet.
Okay, there's let me just look this up really quickly, because this is important for the people who have seen it. There's a moment in it where Will Poulter is playing the character Adam Warlock, and he blasts off through the sky at a few points throughout the film, and this just reminded me of a very low-grade version of that, but a very funny one to watch. Why was that? I can't remember. Why did that moment exist? What was the point?
It was like Jason's invitation to Mount Olympus to meet Zeus and Hera.
At what point in the movie did it happen?
Like right before the boat was built.
Oh, because he met them as like a little tiny bubble man.
Yeah, he was a little tiny man standing on their chessboard.
Oh, I forgot about that little tiny man. Okay, that's very fun. I want to add someone blasting off into space for something I write in the future.
Why not? It's fun. Also Why fun not? Is the harpies scene.
So those harpies are different than the little creatures in Sinbad, or are the same?
They're different. The little guy in Sinbad's supposed to be a homunculus. They do have a similar design, though.
They both start with an H, and they're both like kind of purple and kind of similar.
Yes. Great. Ray Harryhausen's version of the harpies is super different from how they're described in mythology, where they're like gigantic vultures with the heads and breasts of women. But I can see why he didn't put that on film in the 1960s.
Yeah, I don't like that. I'm happy he did what he did.
So he made them like gargoyle people, basically.
Yeah.
Although they do.
And they were like.
Just tormenting this poor blind man.
Tormenting him.
One of the wildest things about that scene is that they shot that on a real temple in Italy. And at the time, they just let them like run around on it and climb on it and stand on the top of it. God. And this is like a 2,000-year-old Greek temple.
Right. Oh my God. Wait, who were the harpies? Were they people in costumes or were they?
They were animations too, like the other creatures. Okay. Except Triton, who is a guy in slow motion.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. My one thing is, why wouldn't you kill the harpies? Would you kill the harpies? I get that he wants to torture them day after day after day, but they seem like they would get loud and annoying.
Plus, if they broke out, he'd be in deep shit again, so...
Yeah, that thing didn't seem like that sturdy, that they were never... Wasn't it just like rope? Like, they could chew through it in a night.
Yeah, it seemed like a bad move to me. I would just move if I were Phineas. I would no longer live there.
I'd be like, take me on your boat and I'm going to the town you're going to. And then they get to the town.
Yeah.
They have their dance.
Yeah. Medea's wearing gold face.
That was a pretty cool outfit, I thought.
Yeah. And I like that big statue of Hecate behind them.
Yes.
That's cool. And then, of course, we get the prison break and the fight with the Hydra, which is my favorite part, because that's the most monstery thing in this. IMO.
Okay, see, that is fascinating. I think Hydra, like, struck me the least. I was like, yeah. All right. I'm like, cool, dragon. I get it.
But why? It's so cool. You get the 7 heads snapping all at the same time, and...
I think maybe I've just seen it 50 times over. I don't know. Something about it. Maybe because it wasn't like that big. It like didn't seem as scary to me. Like it seemed way scarier when they have the 3-headed dog in Harry Potter, you know?
Yeah, the Hydra in the Disney Hercules is much bigger than this one.
That's true. The Hydra in the Disney Hercules is very... Why did they make it so small?
Well, it's not that small. It looks like it's like, I don't know, like 15 feet tall or something. But I don't know. I guess they still wanted to make it not so big that it would seem stupid that Jason killed it with a sword. Like they still wanted it to be realistic, that he could stab it in the heart, because they... What
else do you love about the Hydra? You know, like try to win me over here.
I think it's the best animation of the movie, just because it's so... smooth and sinuous the way it moves, and it's impressive to have all the 7 heads moving at the same time and the 2 tails. And I love a good dragon, so I'm a little bit biased in that regard. I love the beautiful color. It has those bright red eyes and that bluish green snaky body. And it's a cool environment, like with the golden fleece hanging nearby.
That golden fleece, too. Did it look different than you thought it was going to look?
I mean, I've seen this before, so no. But tell me what you mean.
It just looked a little... 1 second, let me pull up a visual so I can... I think it just looked a little like a blanket.
I mean, that is what a fleece is, right?
But then why did it have, like, it looked like a sleeping sheep also. I thought it was going to be like when Moses sees the burning bush in the Bible. It just looked like somebody kind of threw it there. I thought the presentation could have been better.
I don't know. I think it works for me because it's like, it's very mythical looking. Like, it looks like classic iconography.
It kind of just looks like moss on a tree.
Okay, I will say, like, after Jason touches it and the luster goes away, it doesn't look as good, because then you can't see it, like, shining and gleaming. But I kind of like that it's like, it's been despoiled, that he takes it, which I'm not sure is intended, but it works.
I guess maybe because it also, the material kind of looks like cheap pom-poms you'd get from, like, a Party City cheerleader call. I don't know. Anyways, I don't mean to hate on it too much, but I like the rest of the monsters.
Ragging on the golden fleece. So if you were Jason, you would have gotten there and be like, that's it? We came all this way for this?
100%. I'm like pulling up a photo of the Moses burning bush right now, and I'm telling you, it looked much cooler. Yeah, wow. I think, too, this movie, something about it at the beginning really made me want to watch The Prince of Egypt. And so that imagery was just already placed in my head, which is a film that I think I saw for my, like, 8th birthday or something, and I loved.
That's probably a better movie than this one, to be honest, but it doesn't have monsters in it. One more reason I like the Hydra is it has, like, a very dramatic death throw. Like, when he stabs it, it's, like, very operatic. Like, all the heads swing back, like,
it does. It does have a beautiful death. I do love it for its death. It nailed the audition on that one, and it got the part, and it really went for it. And I like that it kind of changes when it dies.
Yeah.
And I do like the idea of you got to pull the teeth out of it. It's kind of, like, gritty and weird and gross.
Yeah, they pulled that straight from the myth, which was cool.
Yeah. This, and now the best part of the movie commences.
Certainly the most well-remembered part.
Because those people are running straight up that mountain.
Yeah.
They are just going straight up.
I love, first of all, how Jason and these guys stand completely still while King Aedes is doing his little presentation and, like, throwing
I was just going to say... Okay, wait. First, though, before that, when she gets shot, she gets an arrow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and then he heals her with the fleece.
They're running straight up. He puts the fleece on. Where'd they go? Like, they seem to be 20 feet behind the whole time the fleece is healing. No one seems to be approaching them, firing at them. It seems to stop. And then she wakes up like she just took a nice afternoon nap on a day it was raining. She just woke up. Oh, wow. Hi, here I am. So well rested. So well rested.
Well, if nothing else, Medea is always ready to look beautiful. That's her job in this movie.
It reminded me, I had to get a very, very minor surgery once, and they put me under anesthesia for like 6 minutes. It was the most rested I've ever felt in my life, because the only time my brain has truly stopped. And I woke up and was like, wow, is it done? Amazing. Reminded me of that moment. Okay, but then, yes, agreed. Same thing. The action he is throwing those teeth. Again, shout out to this actor doing a great job committing to his part and to the hair cap that they've given him. Throwing those teeth out and yelling, what, like summon or?
Rise, children of the Hydra, something like that.
He was basically auditioning to be the bad guy in Sinbad with this part. But it was a good go at it. Yes, rise, children of the Hydra. And the close-ups they had on his face as he was waiting for it, and he was kind of like sweaty, and his teeth were kind of like, his lip was kind of snarling. I was like, good work for all of this, every part of it.
Wouldn't it have been embarrassing if that didn't do anything? And just like...
So embarrassing. Yeah. I thought for a second they were going to be like, and move on. But then the best, coolest part of the movie happened.
The skeletons, they pop out of the ground. It's very influential. They ripped it off in Spy Kids, too. If you remember that movie. They did?
I saw that at the midnight premiere. I can't believe I don't remember it.
Yeah, there's a skeleton battle in that movie. In fact, like, there's more Harryhausen homages. Like, the spider monkey thing is definitely...
Oh, that makes sense. That would be a good one for it. Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm going to have to rewatch, I guess.
Plus, you see the part where they fall into camel poop. That's like
right.
the only two things I remember about that movie.
Yeah, when they run, they're kind of like, hi-ya, right? They kind of make this like, I don't know, I tried to write it, but I didn't get it right. It's also like a kind of slow battle, but or are they, I don't know, it just worked.
It's really impressive how they did it, because you have to think of those actors, there's no reference for them, and because it's being done in animation after the fact, they have to hit the exact marks like every time. So
well, Ryan, that is why those actors went to the Yale School of Drama, so they could do it. I don't know if you heard, but in The Lord of the Rings, they were never in fact walking over a bridge. It was just regular ground.
Okay.
I love that. If anyone goes on the Warner Brothers tour, that is one of the best parts of it. Anyways.
You've thoroughly shamed me now, but
no,
it was a technique that they worked out for all these movies. They used it in Sinbad too, where they would have like trained fencing artists and coaches like do the scene with them, and then they would do it with a clap beat system. So it'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you would have to remember what you were doing on each of those beats, and then they would do it without anyone in the scene with you.
It's truly every theater kid's dream, because one of the most fun classes that you ever do in theater training is stage combat, and it's a skill that you hardly ever use again. I, in fact, have never used it. I have never been in a sword fight, but when I saw Pirates of the Caribbean and I saw this movie, I thought, well, who knows? Maybe one day I'll just have to whip it out.
Maybe you too someday will be fighting skeletons.
Dust off the old sword fighting skills. No, that is very cool, though. That would be a very fun moment to do. And I love that when they stab their stomach, they like cutting their heads off. I get like, okay, they're done. One of them at one point just stabs him in the stomach, and he's like, oh, like he's a skeleton. He doesn't have a stomach. Made no sense.
Yeah,
but still pretty cool.
At least it doesn't kill him completely, which is what Ray Harryhausen struggled with. He's like, how are they going to win? And so you end up with like the goofiest ending, which is not only the ending of the scene, but of the movie, where they just throw a bunch of plaster skeletons off a cliff, and that's the end of the movie.
I thought it was pretty cool, though. I was like, those dumb skeletons foiled again.
You can't swim. Skeletons can't swim.
I liked seeing them jump. Would have been cool if they could swim, but I think the effectiveness, too, of just having however many they had, I don't know, like 10 to 12 skeletons, like 3 on each guy at most times was pretty, it was just effective in making you be like, Because ultimately they didn't really beat him, right? They had to just run away.
Yeah.
They weren't going to beat him.
They were intimidating creatures, to be sure.
Yeah. So they solved that, but what they didn't solve ever is bringing Polias back into the picture.
No. We'll just have to fan fiction our own ending for this movie.
Did they never have a Jason and the Argonauts too?
No, it's funny. He would get that question from people, but he never planned to like come back to it because he didn't know where to take it from there. So
what?
I know it doesn't make any sense to me either. They never planned to wrap up the Polias thing. Apparently,
it's also just, I get you have to set up Jason's kind of origin of why he's doing what he's doing, but like, make Polias' intro shorter then. Just make it a story someone tells or whatever if you're not.
Yeah. Or I mean, like, as long as you're like changing all these facts about the myths, like, why not have Polias be the one who owns the fleece? And then you don't feel so bad when he steals it, too.
Right. Exactly. Because he's trying to kill him anyways. Because also, again, it was a spooky setup of him being like, Polias, you will be king. But that, like, we love a prophecy. You know, we just love one.
It's a testament to his abilities that people still enjoy this movie, even though it doesn't really have an ending.
And even me.
Even Joanna.
I don't enjoy a lot of these old movies.
And with that, Joanna, would you like to give us your judgment for this film?
Yeah. I kind of feel weird saying this because I'm kind of like, who am I? Am I saying, like, I'm going against all? I think I would put it in heaven.
Oh, wow.
Because, again, I do think it had a lot of really effective, like, obstacles that they were coming up against and introductions of these kind of larger than life beings. I thought they were pretty cool, except for Hydra, but you know.
Damn it. I can't
all
win.
Throughout. And I think there were enough side moments that I liked, like the relationship between Hercules and Hylas and the Pelias part of the beginning and the king giving it his all at his end, that I can objectively say, like, yeah, the movie, the characters didn't really do it. The plot, it was a little ho-hum, hunky-dory along the way, but, like, the elements of it, I think, were cool enough that I'm glad I watched it. It's something I would recommend to someone in film to just see for, like, a cool example of how some stuff was done before. And you can kind of poke fun of the transatlantic, you know, we are actors and we're on the... Yeah, I think it's mainly that. I'm always right. Like, would I watch it again? And I just might, to kind of see all of the cool elements that he introduced throughout it.
That's
weird to say that. But again, characters, the lead so dull. Like, not a child in sight, hardly any wit. I don't know. Maybe I'll change it. But yeah, I did like enjoy it way more than I thought.
You know what? You got to go with your gut. And I understand where you're coming from, as we'll get into. I mean, not just to make this like a straight up comparison between this and Sinbad, but, you know, I guess that's what I'm about to do.
It is. Yeah. Not to do it, but just like to do it
really quick. It doesn't work quite as well for me, but I guess that's like, it really just comes down to taste. Which style of adventure do you like more? I liked like the kind of charming, swashbuckling, goofy, slightly gray morally thing of the,
which is normally my vibe, which is why I'm like, maybe because I watched Sinbad when I think I had the flu coming on, maybe that's fogging my vision.
Yeah.
Because I definitely watched it when the flu was coming on.
Yeah, to give the audience a look behind the curtain here, we're recording this weeks after the rest of the episode because poor Joanna got very sick. But to finish my thought, that to me like gives the sense of adventure better than this does. But I can see why you think this gives you the sense of adventure better, because it's a more varied set of obstacles, more dramatic situations the characters are thrown into.
But if you combined both movies and got rid of Pelias, I guess, and inserted, what's his name? Bad guy wizard from Sinbad.
Kura.
Yeah, if you took, like, Sinbad, cut Jason, put Sinbad in there, keep Medea. If you combine them, it'd probably really be a winner.
Yes. You heard it right here, Hollywood.
Heard it here first,
There's
folks.
your next remake. But, I mean, I do like Jason and the Argonauts. It's a fun, kind of slow, kind of sterile myth story, which is super mixed praise. But that's how I feel about it. Very mixed.
Yeah.
Like, Harryhausen came out with great, exciting sequences. Almost everybody in this is giving it their all, even if sometimes their all isn't enough. So for me, it falls into high purgatory, where, like,
okay,
I don't mind watching it every 5 to 10 years, but I don't seek it out when I want, like, the old cheesy adventure story, like I would do with Sinbad or Clash of the Titans, which is another of his movies.
That makes sense. I think, too, in watching this, because I know Sam couldn't join us this round, I was like, I feel like Sam should watch this movie, because there are some cool, and I feel like I'm close sometimes to be like, I recommend this movie to someone to watch,
Yeah.
But I get that. High Purgatory, I was very much considering that. And who knows, maybe I'll change my tune when we have to do a final view of everything at the end of this
re-ranking.
The final.
Maybe we should only do the Godzilla movies, though, to be honest.
Right, that's true.
Who knows? But, Jason and the Argonauts lovers, take heart that Joanna gave it a heaven. I did speak to Sam briefly about these, because I knew he also loved Ray Harryhausen as a kid. And he said a very Sam thing, which was like, I watched them as an adult, and my feelings were generally meh, except for the animation parts. So that's Sam's overall review.
That makes sense.
I hope to get more detailed thoughts on all the movies he missed. Maybe he'll let me do a mini-sode with him, but...
yeah, that would be fun.
We'll see. But for now, let us go on to The Golden Voyage of Sinbad.
Sinbad! Jason and the Argonauts! Alright, nailed it.
So here we go with The Golden Voyage of Sinbad. Sound effects at the ready. While sailing the ocean, Captain Sinbad's crew shoots at a flying creature carrying a golden tablet, which falls aboard. Sinbad takes the tablet, but has a nightmare of a bright-eyed sorcerer and a woman with an eye tattooed in her palm. Sinbad!
Sinbad! For like 20 minutes. Sinbad!
A terrible storm almost wrecks the ship, but Sinbad and the crew steer through it and arrive at the country of Moravia. Sinbad meets the bright-eyed sorcerer there and almost dies at his hands, but manages to escape into the city, where he is greeted by the ruler, a Grand Vizier wearing a golden mask. The Grand Vizier explains that the sorcerer, Kura, covets the crown of Moravia and burned his face in an effort to kill him.
Ouch.
You think that's what he said when it happened? His whole face was burned off. Owie.
That was a pretty sick faceplate. Pretty extensive for the time.
I love his helmet, man. He shows Sinbad a second tablet in a secret room and retells a legend of the Fountain of Destiny. Said to be in the lost country of Lemuria, placing the tablets in the fountains will grant eternal youth, a shield of darkness, and a crown of riches. Kura sends his pet homunculus into the secret room to spy. Sinbad spots and catches the creature, but only after he uses the tablets to complete a sea chart on the wall and reproduce it on paper.
Can I make the sound of the homunculus? Because I think that's important here.
Yes, please. What's even more funny is it's not coming through the Zoom call, but I'm sure it's going to sound great on the recording.
It's just a high-pitched squeal for a long time.
Just chittering. Anyway. The Vizier and Sinbad plan to race Kura to the fountain, but shortly before leaving, a wealthy merchant begs Sinbad to take his lazy and shiftless son Harun on the journey.
I loved that kid. I loved him.
He's great. The sea captain initially refuses, but the merchant's slave looks like the woman in his dream and agrees to take Rahun in exchange for the slave and some gold. Sinbad frees the woman, Mariana, and they take a liking to each other. And if that last paragraph made anyone uncomfortable, don't worry, we'll talk about that. Sinbad manages to lose Kura's ship by passing through a group of foggy shoals, so Kura uses magic to animate the figurehead of Sinbad's ship and steal the sea chart.
What does he shout while she's coming back?
Return!
Return!
He's so good at that. However, Sinbad has memorized the route and gets to Lemuria first. Kura creates another homunculus to watch Sinbad, but with each use of his magic, he grows weaker and older. At a shrine, a genie-like oracle cryptically explains how to get the final tablet and reach the Fountain of Destiny.
Pool riddles.
Kura temporarily traps Sinbad and his crew in the shrine and gets ahead of them, magically animating a statue of Kali to gain the loyalty of the natives. Sinbad and his crew duel Kali until Harun manages to push her off a ledge, shattering the statue and revealing the final gold tablet. Kura blames Kali's destruction on Sinbad and takes the tablet. But after some more misadventures, all parties converge on the Fountain of Destiny. Kura uses 2 of the tablets to restore his youth and gain the Shield of Darkness, and also summons a centaur to antagonize Sinbad. In the end, though, our hero triumphs and uses the final
Ryan,
tablet.
You forgot when the chicken showed up. Come on. What about the chicken?
And also there was a griffin. He places the crown of riches upon the vizier's head, restoring his face, and choosing instead to take the freedom to sail with Mariana. The end.
That is a crazy synopsis. There is a lot of back and forth in this movie.
Yeah.
There is. It's a duel between Sinbad and Kura.
But also a love story.
Also a love story.
And also a love story.
And a story of growing up. Haroon growing up, coming of age story.
He was so
Lots
brave.
of hero journeys.
Yeah.
Did you two ever see Happily Ever After, the fake spin-off of Snow White that came out in the 90s?
No.
Well, one day you can watch it, or maybe not. It had full on the bad guy, he and all his little creatures, full on Happily Ever After vibes for anyone in the crowd who has seen it. Great movie.
You've talked about how deeply this was in your psyche before. I feel like we need to watch it.
I know, it always comes. I think I watched it like every day of my life, probably it's like not a good movie. Like objectively, it is a ripoff of Snow White. I don't know how they got away with it, but...
But there's parallels to every movie in Happily Ever After from this point forward in your life.
Exactly.
Every movie.
It feels
exactly
like I was going to
After.
Kmart and not Target when I was little, and watching Happily Ever After instead of Snow White feels like the exact same. Like it all makes sense. The pattern.
Yeah, it's like just close enough.
Yeah.
Well, shall we talk characters? What did you guys think of our hero, Sinbad?
Sinbad, what a looker. With that earring, I mean, come on. But also...
He's a handsome man.
It makes sense. I feel like everyone was handsome in this era.
I was so surprised he did all of that. And then he just kind of like went on his way. He was like, yeah, I'm just going to... I'll see you later.
Yeah, he's just in it for the high seas.
Yeah, he was like, whatever, I'm out.
I appreciated
enjoy
he was
the
you
crown.
guys have your good times. He was a little funnier, sillier, more sarcastic than our hero Jason in the other film. I appreciated that. I was here for Sinbad's little jokes.
Yeah, he's very charming, I think, because he's devil may care, but not to the extent that he's like putting everyone at risk. He's like, you get the sense that he's buddies with his crew.
Yeah.
And he loves adventure. He loves treasure, but at the end, he values his freedom.
I think that was the only thing that didn't really make sense. Well, that's not true. There were quite a few things.
I was going to say, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense. But
in terms of like just Sinbad as a character, the only thing that really, really didn't make sense and like didn't quite connect with his like character resolution is like, why did he take the gold thing in the beginning? Like what? And then also like, how are we supposed to like him if he's like, I'm going to wear this around my neck. Everyone tells me not to, but I'm going to do it because I'm a little fuck. And then you're just like, wait, this is going to be bad for you and everyone around you. And then the rest of the movie, we're like, I guess we just got to root for this guy and like hope for the best.
He does seem pretty quickly on board with the, like, he sees the masked dude and the guy's like, I got a map I can't figure out. And he's like, I will lead this film for the next 2 hours. Thank you so much.
He's like, no
it's
problem.
Almost like
I got no plan.
He
I'm
knows he's... It's almost like he knows he's in a video game. And he's like, oh, wow, this is definitely the start of a quest. I gotta hang on to this.
Yeah.
But that's sort of the tone. Like, it's not self-serious. Like, that's why I said I think Indiana Jones is spot on. It's like just the adventure is the story. Not to like discount all the complaints because of that, but
I feel like
that's the through line, right?
everyone in the movie, I feel like sometimes we watch these movies and it's like everyone in the cast is in like a kind of different movie, and I feel like everyone in this movie kind of knew they were an actor dressing in kind of piratey clothing, and that was the film they were in. And I was like, this would have been a fun one to be on set for.
Yeah. Apparently everyone had a blast, and this is a good segue. I think it's Caroline Munro, who plays Mariana, ended up becoming such good friends with Ray Harryhausen that she's still on the board of directors for his memorial foundation today.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I feel like it is wild when we jump back to the 60s and being like, yep, there's that naked woman, and that's her trait. She's just kind of half naked, and that's her vibe, you know?
She's just a half naked woman, and I hope he makes her happy. Oh, look at that. He makes her happy.
Right. Like, at least the high priestess in the other one, you know, she had some... I guess she did have a little agency with that terribly drawn, with a pen that was running out, eyeball that was on her hand. That looked like when you're in... That looks like when you're bored in 5th grade in your algebra class and you're like, you know, drawing an eyeball.
Yeah, I was like, you guys should make sure that's a tattoo, because otherwise you're getting played. I think she just drew that so that you'd hang out for longer. I'm pretty sure that's not a tattoo, you guys.
Just run a washcloth over her head just to make sure.
Let's be careful with that one. That looks like a fake tattoo.
Looks fake. I was born with it. I wondered with the guy who ran the brothel and giving Hakim, I think his name was, and giving Harun his son, and I kept thinking that he was secretly going to be a bad guy who was like a spy, and Mariana. I thought there was going to be some kind of tension there, but no, the son was just a drunk guy who was like, "Oh no, this is dangerous." Oh no other arc than that. But I kind of
wait, that dude never came back, did he? Or did I miss
and he
something?
was great.
He just like sold.
Loved him.
He just sold the people, and then he just like never came back. He was just like, here is the girl, and here is the guy. Be on your way.
I'll say it right now. He is my favorite character in the movie. I thought the movie, everyone was giving it an 8, and he showed up giving it a 12. His scene. So I was thankful for him.
He is very funny. He's very funny for a guy who owns slaves.
Yeah.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, he sold 2 really great characters to the ship crew. I mean, in reality, like, we gained 2 new friends based on that transaction.
Yes, one of them was his son. He was trying to get his son, like, taken aboard so someone could teach him how to be useful, and he does. Like Harun, he's got a little arc.
He's got I think honestly, he has the only arc in the movie.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
He pointed another arc. Because Sinbad just walks himself into this thing, and then he's like, bye guys. Sorry about mixing all of that up, but I hope you like the fact that you don't have the mask anymore, and I'll see you later. Me and this woman were hitting the seas.
I also have a question about the seas. Like, how long can the people be on the sea? How do they get the food? Where does the water come from? If they're on the open ocean, you know, that's just my personal journey. I want to do a little more digging into this high seas life post this pod.
See, if you'd grown up in Virginia, you would have gotten a whole lot of information about sea voyages in the 1600s in your elementary school history.
Got it.
We learned all about Jamestown and how they packed their barrels of water and salted pork and hardtack and made the perilous journey across the sea.
Over to Jamestown. Wow.
Yes.
Now you have your answers.
Now I know. It's stressful.
Yeah.
What about our villain, Kura?
I mean, great robes that he had. Full on Scar, Jafar vibes. Basically any Disney villain I've ever seen. And the one from Happily Ever After. He was full on giving those vibes.
Most like the guy from Happily Ever After.
Yeah, exactly. I hope his audition was just Sinbad. Like, I hope that was it. It wasn't a scene. It was just him yelling, because he did a lot of it. He did a lot of kind of "that's so Raven," peering off into the distance, making things happen.
He's given it his all, for sure. This is the movie, actually, that got him the role as Doctor Who. He was the 4th Doctor Who.
Shut up.
And, yeah.
Wow,
Wait, this
is
movie
his
got
breakout role. That makes sense.
Ryan,
The 4th Doctor Who, and the most popular prior to David Tennant. So,
what? That is my favorite fact I've learned on this podcast. Good for him. See, when you give it a 12 out of 10, it really works out for you.
He did have to do a lot of hand acting. I feel like more than anything, that poor guy was like, his whole role was like...
So much hand acting.
You can't really... Yeah.
Which is a class they teach in college. Yeah.
Yeah.
Making painful winces.
Yeah, he was like, oh, no. Oh, I'm upset.
Ryan, what did you think of him? You a fan?
I love him. He's, like, maybe the highlight of the movie from a human character perspective. I genuinely love this when he's, like, getting to the Fountain of Destiny and he's, like, crawling every last inch to push the tablet in to reclaim his youth.
Okay,
and
that was
like,
his callback. That was for sure the callback, yeah. And then I didn't get it. I thought they had to connect, and then he just was throwing them in one at a time. I was hoping for kind of, I was hoping the 3 pieces would connect. We'd have a sound effect like, ah,
lights
and like
come
flashing
from
lights.
Yeah,
and then you like disc it into the fountain. But neither here nor there. No.
Yeah, my dad pointed that out. He loves this movie too since he was a kid, and he's like, why doesn't he just like put all the pieces in at once?
Yeah.
So I have to imagine that the fountain, it's like an old computer. You can only put one in at a time. It'll spit them all out.
Process each one.
Yeah.
Also, like, not that big of a fountain. Pretty area, pretty cave. Fountain, smaller than Old Faithful in Yellowstone, I will just say. I don't know what the budget was on the fountain.
Yeah, I love how much they do with the low budget, because this was made for less than $1 million, which even in 1973 is really not a lot of money to do a big fantasy movie.
Where did they film?
Spain and Italy.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah. They were originally going to film in India, because Lemuria has kind of like an Indian vibe, but they heard a story from somebody else at Columbia that they had all their camera equipment confiscated when they came into the country. So they're like, maybe we don't try that.
Let's go to Spain instead. Wow.
Yeah. Also, speaking of my dad, he made a great joke when Mariana shows her hand for the first time. He said, I bet she has great hand-eye coordination.
Ooh.
And he made me promise to tell it on the show.
Whoa.
There it is. That is fun if I ever heard one. That is a good one.
Wow.
I think...
Pretty
what did you guys think of her, too? Like, I mean, she didn't have it, right?
She's doing exactly what they paid her to do.
Yeah.
She's doing what the script told her she was.
Yeah. She did the role she was hired for, I guess.
My favorite performance my favorite performance of hers, aside from the one where she's being carried midair.
Oh, yeah, by all the people.
Like
I forgot about
surfing.
all those people.
The crowd surfing scene was really good, but my other favorite one was where Sinbad was like, no one can own you. And she's like, when they first kind of get to know each other in his quarters or whatever, he's like, no one can own you. Also, can you get me a drink? And she's like, yeah, I will. And she was just like falling over herself by the fact that he was like, you're not really a slave. No one can own you, girl. And then 2 seconds later, he's like, I really could use a drink, though.
Yeah.
And you're an empowered person.
Yeah, I love how he drops the please.
Yeah.
And then he followed up with the
Sinbad
please.
joke.
And she's like, wow, no one's really ever done that for me. So
I did like her red outfit a lot. I thought that was a great outfit that she had.
Yeah.
Iconic.
She also had a lot of I mean, I don't think anyone else was changing their outfits. She was bringing a whole 3 suitcases onto that.
Yeah. Where do you fit that with the fresh water and the pork rind and the...
Yeah, where does it go?
You can tell that this is like the early 70s. So we've gotten like a recent wave of like civil rights and progressivism. So Sinbad's got that like moment of like, no human being can own another. I'm gonna free you the instant you get on my ship. And they have the good sense to make the natives green people as opposed to any identifiable culture.
And the actor of Sinbad is, yeah, like he's a white dude, right? Who's like, here is, yeah, like basically, I mean, the whole most of the cast.
He's a fully white man. Most of the
cast. There are 2 or 3 people of genuine Arab descent. Yeah. The rest of them are white people. Okay. So yeah, it's like you guys are starting to walk the path, but it's still so like it's
fresh.
Very offensive by today's standards.
Yes, yeah,
for sure. That said, I do like how a good 25% of the lines are all adages. Like, trust in Allah, but tie up your camel.
Oh,
they're always dropping the adages.
They had so many of those.
Yeah.
They really made the script. I feel like that was, like 25% of them. They were like, pepper them in everywhere.
They probably just had one good night where they were like, how many, like, ancient, pithy-sounding adages can we write and put into the movie?
Also, the riddle. Can we talk about that oracle guy? Creepy, terrible teeth. Yeah. Why all the close-ups on his mouth? Just kept the mouth. And he, like, I thought he would speak, like, 6 lines to still be kind of a riddle. But he, like, kind of kept going and going and going. I did not like him.
He's very wordy for an oracle. Usually in these movies, you get like 1 or 2 lines and they have to interpret it. No, this guy is kind. He's going to tell you the whole path you need to walk.
And also I thought it was funny because he ended the first part. He's like, and it's down under the ground. And they were like, pause. And then Sinbad's like, well, what does that mean? And he's like, okay, so take a left and then walk like 3 steps and you'll see a red sign and that's where it is.
I have a great story about that character, though. So, originally, they paid Orson Welles to make a cameo as the Oracle.
No.
Yeah. But the week before he was supposed to shoot, his agent was like, we just took a look at the makeup designs. You're going to have to double the payment if you want him to do it.
Oh, my God.
And so they're like, no, we can't do that. But Charles Schneer, the producer, was friends with Robert Shaw and knew he was on vacation in Spain at the time.
Oh, my God.
So he got a hold of him and was like, please do this. And Robert Shaw was like, all right, I'll do it, but you can't put my name in the credits.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
So he's not credited?
And, no, he's not in the credits for the movie, but it's him just a couple years before Jaws, wearing all this crazy crap on his head. And apparently he was a really good sport because those terrible teeth, they're like a makeup appliance, right? But he kept spitting them out when he was talking. And so the makeup guy was like, all right, I'm going to put like dental cement in them and stick them up in there.
Wow.
And then at the end of the day, when they took them out, it pulled out all of Robert Shaw's dental work. Like, if you remember the scene in Jaws where they're comparing scars, he pulls part of his dental work out in the scene that happened just when they were taking his makeup off, pulled a bunch of his teeth out.
I feel, too, he really, I mean, he was giving full English actor vibes with, like, the diction he was giving, and it reminded me of any warm-up I did in theater school in college, where we were like, what did to do to die today? Like, the whole speech that he had was taking me back. Wow, that is so fun. I didn't know that you could do that, just not have your name in the credits.
That's so crazy. I love that Orson Welles was like, in order to wear that much makeup, you're going to have to pay me twice as much. And then this guy was like, yeah, I'm in Spain. I'll do it. Whatever. Just don't credit me. And pull out my dental work while you're at it.
I was going to say, good thing they didn't use Orson. He probably would have been pissed.
Yeah. Orson, if he pulled out Orson's dentures, he probably would have talked about you on every late night show for the rest of his life.
Yeah, your career is ruined.
Yeah.
What about Ryan? I want to hear about some of the monsters and the interesting choices.
So those were obviously the sequences that the movie was built around. Was all the animated scene, and it shows. But as a result, they're absolute standouts. So we have the homunculus, which is absolutely adorable when it's
my
born.
favorite.
So
Table.
cute.
Yeah. It's coming to life and like rubbing its eyes and yawning. I was like, I want one. I'll subscribe to the dark arts if I can get a homunculus.
Yeah.
Were they in the other movie too, but bigger, or was that a different thing? Attacking the dude with the food.
That's a different thing, but they do look similar, so I don't blame you.
Okay.
Yeah. It's very cute, and he's full of dead leaves for some reason. When Sinbad grabs him, he just poofs into a bunch of dead leaves. But something clever I want to point out about the stop motion. So at the time, you could not move the camera in a special effects shot that required visual compositing. That was pioneered with Star Wars a couple years later, the camera, motion-controlled camera. So as a result, Ray does all these really interesting things to make the camera work more interesting because he can't move it while the animated creatures are on screen. So, like, during the homunculus scene, he has, like, all this lab equipment in the foreground, and you're down on the table with the homunculus. Or when you have Kali coming to life, it's not a straight-on angle, it's, like, slightly canted off to the side, and you see Kura in the foreground. So he's always, like, trying to do something visually interesting because you can't actually move it.
That makes so much sense. It's one of the things I was thinking about while I was watching is all of the action sequences are like they're just stuffed into like one shot, and you just throw everybody in there and they're just stuffed into one shot. It's like the blocking was just so intense, and I was like, how and why did they do it like this? And that's because of the stop motion. That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
So then the centaur. So all these stop motion characters. Then how does that work together? Are they little? How are they?
Yeah. So he would get armatures machined out of metal that are basically like a bunch of like really bendy metal joints in basically like the skeleton of the creature. And then he would build that up with cotton and foam rubber and basically like make posable statues. And the size would depend, but they were usually about 1 foot tall, 1.5 feet tall. And yeah, it was just amazingly painstaking work, and he did it all himself. He would just move all the pieces of it a millimeter at a time.
Oh my god.
And when you especially when you think about sequences like Kali with the 6 arms, or the griffin fighting the centaur, where you have 2 heads, 8 legs, 2 arms, 2 wings moving around all the time. And you would just keep track of that and like spend months animating these beautiful scenes.
Which one was your favorite?
The Kali sequence is my favorite in any Ray Harryhausen movie. It's so
that was fucking cool.
Impressive how fast they manage to get the blocking when they're dealing with something that's not there on set, and they have people coming at it from all angles, and the music there is great, and it feels genuinely like dangerous, like they might lose to this powerful animate statue. And I even like the way Haroon defeats her by like sneaking up on her and pushing her.
His hero's journey.
Yep.
All that time, you just had to push her off a ledge.
Just had to
We
push
tried
her down.
fire. We tried swords. You just gotta push her down.
Yeah.
Gotta break her like the rock she is.
And the dance too. The dance is really
The dance was incredibly impressive.
Cool.
Yeah.
So is he doing that? And then they're superimposing it onto the shot with the actors? Or they're doing it...
Yeah.
Okay.
So they would pre-plan it out like in excruciating detail, shoot it on set, and then he would like project the scene behind the model in his studio and animate it. frame by frame.
Yeah, that is, I could never do that, but I give major props to him for doing it. It reminds me of, in Parks and Rec when what's his name is unemployed and starts doing stop motion and then he plays his film and it's 1 second long.
Yeah, that is the truest shit about how long stop motion takes to do.
Did you like the centaur? I was not into him. I thought he didn't look good. I didn't fully. I don't know why the Griffith chicken came out. I just wasn't fully. Why was he there? He just ditched the girl. He had her. He ditched her. He represented good? Did he represent... Or no, he represented evil.
He was the evil. The griffin, which you keep calling the chicken, represented good.
But why? Why did it represent good? I don't understand.
I looked at my Ray Harryhausen book for information on this, and apparently in medieval heraldry, the griffin is like a symbol of good. So he was counting on people to know their medieval heraldry.
I feel like that comes up in Harry Potter, but I feel like centaurs are good in Harry Potter too. So now my data is all off. My information is incorrect.
Yeah, Harry Potter kind of ruined this for you.
Yeah,
you were like, what are the rules here?
No. Why doesn't the centaur talk?
I love how the centaur has David Bowie hair. It's like this bright reddish blonde 70s, not even like a mane, like a puffy fro, like a teased. I don't even know what you would call it.
Yeah,
but it's amazing.
I liked the mermaid too.
Yeah, the mermaid ship thing. She was cool.
Oh, the figurehead? That's another real standout.
I feel too, it was cool that in the other movie, the figurehead was like a good character and was utilized. It was cool to see the figurehead kind of used again as this larger than life. And that was the best hand acting return.
Yes,
like that was one of his best.
That's where I was like, I can't take my eyes off of this man. He's like,
yeah.
And it was so impressive. And then
I wonder how many
she got up
they
off
did.
of the boat and started wiggling around.
And they had some kind of magical paper that didn't just dissolve in the ocean blue.
Hey, if you're going to go on the sea, you're going to buy waterproof paper.
You got to laminate your paper before you go. That's right.
Yeah. What I love about that scene is all the interaction with the live elements. Like when the figurehead is smashing open the navigation chamber, and it's like perfectly timed, like all the wood breaking, or the guy is attacking her with the axe, and then the axe is stuck.
The axe is cool.
In the figurehead for the rest of the scene.
They did spend a lot of time kind of poking her with fire, but not succeeding. That was like 2 minutes. I was like, guys, I don't know if this is going to work. They were like never quite at her. They were always like a foot away. Like, I was like, we're going to be in this for forever. This is the rest of the movie.
Someone's got to get closer to her with the fire, please.
Yeah.
One of you 6 dudes.
Something to happen.
Get up in there.
I also liked his helper a lot. Sinbad's like first mate. I don't know.
His first mate, Rashid. He's great.
I like that he was kind of eye rolling a lot of like, Sinbad. Like he ends up being right in the end, so we'll just kind of go along with it,
He's the ultimate like trusting best friend.
Yeah.
It's like, you knucklehead. I don't know why I put up with you. But
unlike in Jason and the Argonauts, I thought he was going to turn on him. I thought a lot of people on the ship were going to turn on Sinbad. Nobody did the whole time. I was waiting for
buddies.
That was so confusing to me. Again, from the onset, when he's like, I'm going to wear this gold thing. You guys, we're all still good, right? And they were like, yeah, they all looked at him like, don't do that, dude. And then he kept doing it. And then they're just like, we're with you until the bitter end, my friend. Don't worry. We're just going to keep hanging out with you despite the fact that you made an obvious stupid choice.
A major mistake.
We're just going to risk our lives for you. They were like down bros. They would do whatever it took to stay on that boat with Sinbad.
It's the ultimate toxic masculinity move, where it's like,
that was an early
I know I'm
fraternity.
wrong, but it's gonna work out for me. So, who cares?
And who was that rightful king guy?
The vizier.
Did that actor have to wear that poor face shield the whole time? Probably, right?
Yeah.
That kind of sucks. Good for him.
He had such a great face in the end. Good for him.
Yeah. What a strong jawline. I imagine it was pretty hot under that and awful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ray Bradbury, actually, calling back to my intro.
Ah.
When he watched the movie, he was like, why didn't you have the Vizier, like, shed a tear when he feels his face come back? And Ray was like, damn it! We should have done that.
Puts a lot of pressure on the
Obviousness.
actor, you know? Yeah, that would have been very precious.
And also, my other thing about the Vizier, his self-esteem must be so low after Sinbad's like, take off your masks to freak out all these green people.
I know.
He's like, all right, I'll do it, but I won't like it.
That was some good makeup. Almost like, what's his name in that Batman movie? What's his name? When they rip half his days off.
Two-Face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He looked spooky.
He looks proper gross.
He looked really slippery. It was a very slippery Firebird.
Yeah. It was like kind of still fresh. Yeah.
Really fresh. I was like, are you sure you want that mask on it? Put some put some creams on it.
Aloe or Vaseline or
something to help you heal. Maybe he had Vaseline under the mask and we just didn't know it.
That's right. That's why he is so shiny. He's Vaselined up to avoid chafing. My last comment on this one is to go back to the fight, the epic fight between the Griffin and the Centaur, which is cool, even though the Griffin comes out of absolutely nowhere.
No, I'm kidding.
In 7th grade, I did a biography report on Ray Harryhausen. Or no. It was about... Yes, it was. And then I talked about special effects in general. And one of the scenes I showed was the Griffin and Centaur fight. And a few people in class were like laughing at it at first, but eventually everyone got really into it. And I remember like when Kura slashed the leg of the Centaur, a bunch of girls in the class like gasped and were like, oh no, they felt so bad for the chicken. I was like, yes, this is everything I wanted. For everybody to get into this moment, this amazing scene.
My last thing is just, it was fun to watch the sword fight. My girlfriend came in while I was watching the sword fight, and she had one comment to make. She was like, it's just too bad that the woman has only one head, because you can only look in one direction and fight with these three hands, and then your other three hands are just kind of blindly going like this.
Jabbing.
And I was like, that's so true. And she was like, if only she had another head to look out so she could keep track of the other three hands, she would be so much more effective. So I just wanted to give the note, because I think it's a good note.
That is a good note. Ray, you should have put a second head on Colin.
Ray, you should have had that tear, and you should have had that second head.
Those are only 2 notes for you, Ray.
Otherwise, a perfect movie. Perfect. At least as far as you were involved.
Yeah.
Now it is time to judge the Golden Voyage of Sinbad. As Godzillavangelists, it is our holy duty to put each movie in its proper place in the afterlife, with heaven being the best, hell being the worst, and purgatory falling somewhere in the middle. Normally it's Godzilla, heaven, hell, and purgatory, but I guess this week it's Ray Harryhausen, afterlife. Anyway, Joanna, would you like to go first?
No, because I don't know quite where I stand, but I think where I stand is a high purgatory. It brought back some of the silliness, goofiness. I like, again, that I feel like it had kind of a wink about like what it was doing. Like everyone was like, yeah, this is like the movie that we're in. No one was taking it too seriously, which I'm always a fan of. But it was, I can't say that it was an excellent film. And I think comparing to Jason, there was the repetition of kind of, oh no, Sinbad and chorus. I think that it got to a point where I'm like, okay, another one of these. Whereas I feel like with Jason and the Argonauts, there was a little more like new obstacles and freshness each time, that you weren't like, you had no clue what was going to come next. So that would be the third note for him on this film. And yeah, a purgatory, but maybe a high-ish one because it had some silly stuff in it.
That's fair. That's very fair. I'm going to put it in heaven, though. It's biased for sure. This movie is near and dear to my heart, despite its problems. But I do think when you take it on its terms of being a straightforward adventure movie of the times, it gets a lot right. Like, it starts out with the inciting incident, there's no time wasting, and then we get on to this duel, this race between Sinbad and Kuro, which I know felt a little repetitive for you, but I like how it's simple and direct, and you never get lost as to what's happening. One will gain the upper hand over the other, and then they'll win it back. And there's lots of cleverness in how the whole thing is constructed. And then you have those beautiful animation sequences. So there's a lot to love. It's a heaven for me. I totally get why it would be lower, though.
But Ryan did present on it in his 7th grade class, so it has to be higher for him.
That's right. It still appealed to 13-year-olds in 2006 or whatever. Anyway, Nicole, where do you place this movie?
I would do Purgatory directly in the middle. I watched it because I wanted to join this, and I enjoyed it. I don't usually watch movies like this, but that's a shame on me thing. I do wish I watched it after knowing all of the technical detail that went into the monster making. I thought that was really fun to learn about in this podcast, and I almost think I would have enjoyed it. I would have enjoyed the watching more if I had known those bits and pieces, because that kind of stuff really intrigues me. And I think in today's day and age, you just take for granted how hard it was to make what we saw in this movie. Story-wise, I can't say it hits it out of the park. I think it really falls flat. Quite a number of... Yes, I agree with you, Ryan. There was, in fact, an inciting incident, but it was a mistake made by our hero. So I think, I think there were some obvious issues there, but I think technically speaking, it was quite a visual beauty, and I enjoyed that part. And I would watch it again at a higher speed with the little fast forward button. Yeah.
1.15 that. Appreciate the stop motion. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take it. I feel like you're hitting Sinbad real hard for picking up the tablet, though. Like he wants to go on an adventure. He's going to take a risk.
He obviously should not pick up the tablet, and they're like, "Don't do it." And then he just picks it up, and he's like, "I'm going to do it." Like, of course I'm going to hit him hard. It's like not a very sympathetic. I have no sympathy for our hero. How are you supposed to feel badly for him when he comes upon all of these obstacles? Yes. It's a mess of his own making. Now he's made it everyone else's mess.
He's too cool to feel bad for.
I guess I can see where you're coming from on that one.
Ryan, I love whenever there's a childhood one that you're like, and we're like, well,
But I appreciate the nostalgia. Yeah.
But I get it, the nostalgia. It's a regular Hocus Pocus for you,
And when you guys do the Hocus Pocus episode, if you rip that movie apart, I'm gonna be mad. I'm calling. I'm mad.
I do have one question. When Ryan pitched, hey, do you want to be on our Godzilla podcast? I feel like I have a few friends who have been like, yeah. And then they're like, wait, I didn't watch a Godzilla movie? Like, I think Fiona thought she was watching a Godzilla movie the whole time. Kept, waiting for Godzilla to appear. Or did you know ahead of time that it was going to be a tangentially related film?
I just was like, someone send me whatever I'm watching, and I'll watch it. And I had no idea what I was signing up for here.
Anyway, we have a fan letter from Dave A. Although it's really more of a request or an FYI, perhaps.
Cut the
but
synopsis.
Nevertheless appreciated.
They're back.
No, not synopsis related. He says, or they say, Did you know there are some awesome Godzilla comics, like Godzilla in Hell, The Half-Century War, and Rulers of Earth? Have you ever thought about doing an episode on a Godzilla comic?
That's a question for Ryan.
I briefly considered it. I have not read all of them, but the couple I have read have been pretty disappointing writing-wise. Visually, it's really strong, but since we're going to talk about it on a podcast, I can't really demonstrate the visuals for you. But we do have a little bit of a gap coming up where I have to do a mini-sode of some sort. So that just might be a good idea, is to talk about some Godzilla comics. But anyway, I wanted to read it on the air so that everyone could check these out if they wanted to. I have wanted to read Godzilla in Hell just because that sounds like a great concept.
Yeah, that's a great title. Yeah. I'll read that one. I've never picked up a Godzilla comic book in my life, and I'll read that one. Godzilla in Hell, that sounds great.
It really does. Nicole, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you have anything to plug or share with our audience?
No, just, be nice, smile, and wave, and always help people feel safe when crossing the street.
I like that. And your final lesson, if somebody drops a golden tablet on the deck of your ship, don't pick it up. Because Nicole's going to think you're a dick.
Don't pick that shit up.
It's the most selfish thing you could possibly do. And then we've got to hey, don't pick it up. Don't pick it up. All of your best friends who are stuck with you on a boat say, don't do it. Don't do it.
They're adventurers, Nicole. This is what they signed up
don't
for.
Do things. Listen to your friends. That's my final word of advice for these listeners, is always listen to your friends.
Okay, listen to your friends. I'll back you up on that. All right, dear audience, thank you so much for listening. Share us with your friends, families, anybody who likes cult movies, weird movies, monster movies. Send us to your weird boomer or Gen X uncle who won't stop talking about Ray Harryhausen. Share us on all the social medias. Subscribe to us on your preferred podcast provider. Send us an email. We need more emails. We need more comments.
Come see our panel at Comic-Con. Just kidding. Listen, the studios are no longer going, so they're pulling in the 8th tier, so I guess we'll be going.
Listen, if you get a petition going to invite us to Comic-Con or G-Fest or whatever, and we actually get an invite, we'll absolutely go. But in the meantime, my dear friends and listeners, keep spreading the word of Godzilla. Godzillavangelists, a Geek Stew Network podcast, is brought to you by me, Ryan Sargent, and my friends Joanna Brodecki and Sam Schlenker. This episode was edited by Brogan Malloy. All our incredible music is composed by Robert Mai, and our wonderful artwork is drawn by Cassidy Stone. Special thanks to our families, friends, and the wonderful artists who made the movies we talked about today. Godzillavangelists is a satirical, critical work not affiliated or endorsed by Toho, Legendary Pictures, or anyone behind the Godzilla series. Visit our website at godzillavangelists.com. We're also on Twitter at GodzillaCast and Instagram at GodzillaVangelists. If you prefer to listen to us online, we have a YouTube channel. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope you join us next time. In the meantime, keep spreading the word of Godzilla.